Hello, friends, and welcome to the February 17th edition of Weekly Witness, Texas Impact's weekly podcast designed to help mainstream Texans of faith understand the legislative process and help you engage with the Texas legislature. My name is Scott Atnip, your host and Texas Impact's Director of Public Witness, and this week we have an exciting conversation for you as Texas State Rep Salman Bhojani joins the program. Representative Bhojani represents District 92 around Euless, Bedford, Prairie and Arlington, and was one of the speakers at Texas Impact's Interfaith Service of Public Witness at the start of the session in January. He's been making news because he is one of the first two Muslims and South Asians elected to the Texas House, both of whom were sworn in this January. Born in Pakistan to a large family, Representative Bhojani immigrated to Texas as a teenager, where he worked 3 minimum wage jobs to help support his family, climbing the ladder from convenience store cashier to successful business owner, attorney, Euless City Councilman, and Mayor Pro Tem. After becoming a naturalized citizen, Representative Bhojani earned degrees from the University of Texas at Dallas, go Comets, Southern Methodist University, and Oxford University. Texas Impact promoted his press conference last week focused on his religious freedom agenda, which we will talk about during this conversation. But before we get there, and speaking of religious freedom, I hope to see many of you in person in Austin or online February 19th through 21st for Texas Impact's Interfaith Advocacy Days. We'll have Amanda Tyler from the Baptist Joint Commission talking about Christian nationalism, and friend of the show, Scott Braddock from Quorum Report, giving us the lay of the land this legislative session. Registration for in-person and online attendance is available at texasimpact.org/TIAD-2023. While you're there, check the Take Action page to sign up for other ways to get involved this session. Committees have been assigned, so the session is starting to heat up. Now is the time for Texans of faith to get involved, and we look forward to working with you throughout. All right, enough of the housekeeping. I hope you enjoy the conversation with State Representative Salman Bhojani. Joining us for today's conversation is Texas State Representative Salman Bhojani from District 92, better known for some of our listeners as one of the speakers at Texas Impact's Interfaith Service of Public Witness on the first day of the legislative session. As we mentioned in the intro, he is one of the first Muslim representatives in the Texas legislature, as well as one of the first South Asian representatives. And Representative, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So first of all, how are you getting settled in? Your first term, you were sworn in at the beginning of January, been there about a month. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's been a really busy month. We've got so much that went on, and it just feels like drinking from a fire hose. And we're trying to learn where the bathrooms are and where to file bills and everything in between. And so I'm glad that I have good staff and good colleagues to depend on.
What is a good thing that the first third of the legislative session, as we've talked about on this program in the past, is really about relationship building. And so I guess you have some time during these early days to build those relationships and gear up, right?
That's so important. That's how I got successful in my Euless City Council days, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in the State House.
Excellent. We appreciate that. So you have talked on a number of occasions about being one of the first two Muslims elected to the Texas House, both of you being sworn in January. So talk to us first today. We do have an interfaith audience about what that means to you.
Yeah, it means like it's a new era of representation in the state of Texas. This has never happened, and it's historic not only for me and my family, but not just for my community also, but for the entire state of Texas. And, victory belongs just not to me. It belongs to the community, belongs to a lot of different people. Hopefully that will come after me because I'm the first. I don't want to be the last. And so I always focus on trying to get more and more people to run for office. And we just recently also had the Austin City Council member Zoe Qadri win a historic race as well. So I'm just really, really proud of that. And I hope to see just so many more people stepping up to the challenge and saying, yes, we need representation. We need Texas to look like, we need the Texas state representatives and elected officials to look like Texas. We have 30 million people that live in Texas and they call the Texas home. And I hope that we get more young people, more diverse people that are representing us so that way we can get all these perspectives and have a seat at the decision-making table.
Absolutely. So we do have an audience of faith. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that they're really interested in hearing the story about why people do things. And so I wonder if your faith had any role in your decision to run for office and how you'll use it to guide your work there.
Absolutely. I mean, faith is a really big component of my life, and it has absolutely inspired me to run for office in 2017 and 2018, and then even later on as a state representative here. 2016 presidential election saw a really different twist in the U.S. politics. And I had to have a hard conversation with my 8-year-old and 11-year-old at that time, explaining how this person that preys on the divisiveness of American society will lead a great nation. So the Muslim ban in January 2017 was really made me come out. And as an attorney, I felt this was unconstitutional. And I drove to the DFW airport to use my legal experience to get my brothers and sisters in faith come out and meet their family in DFW airport. And they were just stuck because they were Muslims. And so I felt that was unconstitutional. I need to do something about it. And that really guided me to say, hey, look, there are very, very few Muslim Americans that are elected, and how can I get a seat at the table? Because Muslims have been on the menu for far too long, and having a seat at the decision-making table will shape the policy that is more based on humility, interfaith dialogue, pluralism, compassion, and being kind to one another. It's just, we can agree to disagree politically, absolutely, all day long, but we definitely cannot be mean to each other. We have to respect each other, regardless of what faith we come to. And, what's really guiding me right now as well is, when I was thinking about what Quran to swear on, it felt like, I need to make a statement with that as well. So I was very blessed to have purchased a copy, the oldest English printed copy of the Quran in the entire Americas, North and South America. It's a 217-year-old Quran.
Wow.
And I purchased it. It actually, John Adams had a copy of this. And so our founding fathers learned about my religion and its tenets through this copy. And so I felt this is such an amazing way to showcase that, hey, most people don't even know that John Adams had a copy of a Quran, right? And so that was really eye-opening. And then I also wanted to make sure to showcase it in my office. So it's in my office right now, and it's open to chapter 49, verse 13, which talks about that God has created us in different groups so that we can get to know one another, and that we should form cooperative relationships with each other and work on what we have in common, regardless of our differences. And that's exactly what's setting my tone in this office, where it doesn't matter if you're Christian, Jew, or if you're Muslim, or if you're Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, it doesn't matter. We're going to work together. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, or independent. We will work together.
Yeah. I love that. And I believe you told that story yesterday in the press conference. We're recording this on Thursday. Yeah. I've lost all track of time. But yes, earlier this week, told that story at the press conference at the Capitol. And you talked about your religious freedom agenda. And so listeners can know, we do have the press conference on Texas Impact's Facebook page. One of our staff was going Facebook Live. So talk to us about your religious freedom agenda and what that bill package looks like, and why this is so important.
Yeah, thank you for that. Really had a great turnout at the religious freedom press conference we had on Tuesday morning. We had 19 representatives and 1 senator, so it was bicameral and bipartisan. We had Republicans and Democrats, and that's why I love this topic, because not only is it really important to my community and my constituents, but it's important for the entire state of Texas. In fact, if you remember, Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick both talked about this religious freedom agenda in their inaugural address last month. And so I think that's what I really enjoy about it. It is something that people care about. And so I rolled out 3 different bills. We filed them last week. So HB 1882 expands the list of optional state holidays. Right now in the code, there are Christian and Jewish optional holidays where state employees can take time off, paid time off. And those are Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Good Friday. So as it stands, if you think about it, Islamic, Hindu, Buddhist, and other faith holidays are not afforded that same privilege. And so HB 1882 seeks to remedy the issue of recognizing All Saints Day. So this is, again, a Christian holiday, Diwali, a Hindu holiday, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, Muslim holiday, Passover, a Jewish holiday, Vaisakhi for the Sikh community, and Vesak for the Buddhist community as state optional holidays. And this ensures basically that different faith employees feel welcomed, and it can work. Also, it can lead to having good retention and good morale within all the employees of the state.
All right.
And then, I can also talk about the second
please
bill.
do. Yeah.
If you want me to.
Absolutely.
Okay. So HB 1883 is the second bill, and that basically prevents state mandated testing on religious holidays. And so right now, commonly STAR testing and end of course exams are administered during the month of Ramadan, during Eid, during Passover, and other religious holidays. And so this bill would prohibit the state from scheduling state mandated exams during those holidays. And you need to make sure a child that is taking a high stakes exam is not having to choose between practicing their faith. If there's a vigil late night and next morning they have a big exam, a STAR test, and no child should be having to make this decision of choosing their faith or their school. They're both important. They both need to be recognized. The third bill is HB 1884, which allows any authorized religious leader to perform a marriage ceremony, which is really simple, right? If you think about it. But in the current statute, it says Christian ministers and Jewish rabbis and other judges can perform weddings. The right to wed by faith leaders of Islamic, Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, and other faith leaders are not in the code specifically mentioned. And so again, this just talks about, hey, making everything equal, right? So we're trying to make it saying that every faith leader can ordain a marriage, make it simple and make it available for everybody. And
you did say, I'll let you repeat it, that there is bipartisan support for these pieces of legislation.
Yes, I'm so honored that we had bipartisan support, not only just on the press conference. We had two Republicans and then other Democrats along with that. Representative J.C. Jeton spoke with me at the press conference as well, and he's joint authoring with me on a bill. Other representatives from the the Republican and Democrat side are joint authoring with me, and we have like more than 25 co-authors already on these bills. And so I really look forward. And just to let you know, these two of these bills passed overwhelmingly, almost unanimously in the State House last session. The marriage parity one and the state holiday one, they both passed. Maybe one or two members said nay. Everybody else said passed it. It got stuck in the Senate. And so my goal is this time around to try to build more relationships across the chamber, not just across the aisle, to make sure that this is such an important topic. Like I said, Lieutenant Dan Patrick also said the same thing in his inaugural address, and so I look forward to getting his support as well.
Yeah. So the answer to this next one might be obvious. I was going to ask what Texans of Faith can do to support this agenda and these bills, but it sounds like maybe talking to your senator.
It's actually. I can speak to that. I think what they can do is pick up the phone and call your representatives, call your senators. More importantly, call your senators and let them know how important this thing is. This issue is not just for one faith; it's for all the faith. It just brings more equality and freedom for everybody, and that freedom is not just to worship. It's also the dignity and autonomy for every person to make a decision for themselves. And so you can find who represents you. If you just type who represents you, you should be able to on Google in Texas, you'll be able to get all the representatives and senators that represent you. Pick up the phone, call them, send them an email. We're happy to sort of help draft those emails if need be. But we just want to make sure that we're there to help our constituents, and not just our constituents, but the state of Texas, to pass these bills that are, just making common sense for religious freedom purposes. And also, you can put these numbers there, HB 1882, HB 1883, and 1884, so that the senators and representatives know what we're talking about.
We will have action alerts as the session goes on when bills that Texas Impact prioritizes are moving. So friends who are listening, keep an eye out. In future weeks, we'll keep you posted when those start moving, so you can make your telephone calls. Representative, we do like to give homework to our folks who are listening, and one of them is typically go meet with your representatives. And early in the session, we're talking about the importance of building relationships with your representatives and their staff, both in the Capitol office and in the district. I always like to ask elected representatives when we have them on why that's important. So can you talk to us some about why those relationships and why those meetings with people in the district are important to you and your team?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I go there, if I can just say one thing that I forgot to say in the last one is
absolutely
not only just that you should talk to your state representatives and state senators, but there will be in-person hearings in Austin and the committees. And so we would really, really love the community to come out and speak in support of these bills. And by the way, I welcome any comments. If anybody thinks that, hey, if this bill just said this or added this holiday or this, I would be supporting of it. That is exactly what we want to do, right? We are not saying we know the answer 100%. In fact, I'm a freshman. I'm still learning a lot. So I want to make sure that I can get multiple inputs. So please, for all of you who are listening, please reach out to our office and say, hey, let's make this bill better by adding X, Y, or Z or removing something. We're totally open to that. This is not something that's written on stone. We can change it, but come to attend hearings as well. On
Yeah,
your
can I add to that one? I think it's important that everybody considers making telephone calls and or attending to give comment during those public hearings. I'm going to challenge especially our clergy who are listening from all of our faith traditions. You might carry some weight on this one. So I might challenge y'all to especially meet with your representatives and show up in Austin for those hearings.
And I want to give a shout out to the clergy that helped me in 2018. I'm not sure if you discussed this or not, but in 2018 I was running for Euless City Council. My own state representative, Jonathan Stickland, attacked me for being Muslim, for being a Democrat, for being an attorney, and said that I had a dangerous agenda, that I should never be elected. And I was so blessed that I have a lot of support. In fact, I think an interfaith group wrote a letter in my support. And actually, they even publicized it on social media and all that, saying this is not tolerable, And so I think I really want to thank all the clergy that helped me at that time. And this is the same thing. We want to make sure that we tie that back in. And it's sort of poetic justice. God has this mysterious ways of working things out, where I'm sitting in the exact same seat, HD 92, where Representative Stickland attacked me for being Muslim. So, really, this is poetic justice, and maybe karma to a certain degree as well.
Right. Well, I'll let others make the decision on that. But back to the question about why it's important to build these relationships with your representative and how you benefit from your constituents talking to you and building those relationships.
Yeah, and so this is what has actually helped me in my Euless City Council time, right? I met with each and every individual city council members in my Euless before even I ran for office, because I wanted to create that relationship, because at the end of the day, we're humans first. Then we add on these layers of political ideology or religion or whatever you have it. And there's an instantaneous bond that's created when you talk about your kids, what about your passion to serve the community, because everybody, in my Euless City Council, the city council members are amazingly, outstandingly, brilliant, because they are there for the passion to serve the community. And so when you realize that, you have a lot in common, right? Going back to that same verse, there's so much more in common that we have. But if we talk about the differences, then we're not going to be able to create that relationship. And that's exactly what I want to do right now. My staff always jokes around that I'm the busiest man in the show business, where I've got so many district meetings when I go back home on the weekend, got so many meetings here in Austin, because I never want to forget my constituents. That's exactly why I've also hired a district director, Emily Collins. A big shout out to her. She goes above and beyond to take care of constituents. And constituents are so important and so special for me. So anytime I've asked my Austin staff as well, if a constituents come to my office, if I'm on the floor, if I'm busy meeting with somebody else, doesn't matter. Like constituents, I need to meet them the first. So that's the kind of relationship that we want to try to have, not just with our state representatives, but also with our constituents and our leaders, also working on with a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge. Because as you can imagine right now, we have to work on a mile, wide and an inch deep. So there's so many issues we need to work on. And so I feel like I need to get knowledge before I start voting on things, because there's so much I don't know. That's what I've realized as a state representative, right? And so I also build relationships with key stakeholders that know so much about a particular topic, like electricity 101 or school finance 101, because that school finance formula is very, very complicated, right. Very complex. And so we want to work on that. But I'm really, really blessed that I have already created a relationship with over 100 representatives and senators. In fact, my son is tracking that progress. I love it when I meet my colleagues. I take a selfie with them. And so I sent it to him and he's uploaded it. I think I have 130 selfies with state representatives right now. If you go to bhojanifortexas.com, you'll be able to see that, all the pictures that I've taken. And it's just a fun thing that we're doing, because it's not just that we're taking a selfie will start a relationship, but at least it'll get it going and say, I'm trying to reach out to as many people as possible. And by the way, I've really gotten great feedback from my colleagues. They've been really cordial. They've been really respectful. And so that's really refreshing to see that this is not about, R's or D's or religious or whatnot. It's about us 150 people coming together and making laws for the entire state of Texas.
I feel like because I'm in quarantine right now and we're doing this over the internet, I'm missing a real opportunity to take a selfie with you right now.
I know exactly. I would have loved that. In fact, I would have taken a selfie with you and the Quran so that we can get all the main significant pieces here in my office.
Next time I'm in the Capitol, we'll have to stop by, see if I'm not a
by.
constituent, so they won't come get you off the floor for me. But we'll work on that.
We'll make time. No worries.
Right. Representative, I really appreciate the time today. Anything else you want to add before we close out?
No, just I'm really excited to work for the people of Texas and my constituents. And, I just got our committee assignments yesterday, and I'm really, really excited to serve on criminal jurisprudence and pensions, investments, and financial services. And so there's a lot of work I want to do. And so I think that this is going to really pave the way for a lot of people with my background in investments already in financial services and me being an attorney. So I hope I can add a lot of value to that. And just, we like to work on communications a lot. So, please help us out with that. I love to do TikToks as well. We're trying to get verified on TikTok. We're almost verified. We're verified on Instagram and Twitter. And so, I do a lot of these videos where we catch up people and just do a wrap up and to see, hey, what's happening in your state capital? Because a lot of people, especially from my community, the minority communities, they don't even know what goes on in the State House. So my job is always to think about those things and say, okay, how can I really give them a glimpse in a very short manner? Because everybody's busy on time. In a short 1-minute TikTok, how I can let them know exactly what's going on in the State House. And I hope I can make it more accessible. Politics should be more accessible, so that way we can really engage them. And then that's when they'll come to vote, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, Representative, I really do appreciate the time today. I know that there are people throughout the state who are celebrating with you to have a representative that looks and believes like them. And so I appreciate your willingness to serve, and I appreciate your willingness to share a piece of your story with us today. We'll look forward to hanging out next summer in Austin.
And we need to, thank you. And we need to remember also those folks that are in turmoil or have lost their lives. Like, for example, Syria and Turkey has just gone through a devastating earthquake. So, I pray for them, and I hope, the listeners can also join me in praying for them. There's 17,000 people that have passed away because of no fault of their own, because of infrastructure and the natural disasters. And I just feel my heart goes out to them. We don't even know the full extent of the damage yet. And so, if we pray for them, because who knows, we may be in the same situation and we may need people to pray for us. Yeah. And so just keep them in your thoughts.
All right. Representative, thanks again. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank Representative Bhojani for joining us, and I look forward to visiting him at the Capitol soon for that selfie. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and are inspired to meet your legislator to start to build those relationships so that we can all be involved in the work for justice and equity during the session and beyond. We look forward to resourcing your advocacy, and I am happy to try my best to answer your questions, so feel free to reach out at scott@texasimpact.org. As we wrap up, make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast and sharing it with your friends and congregations, and go to texasimpact.org for other ways you can get involved during the legislative session. While you're there, make sure that you and your congregation sign up to be members of Texas Impact to support this podcast and the work of Texas Impact year-round. And with that, I think it's time to close out this episode. So remember, the world needs Texans of faith active and engaged. So let's get to work.
Weekly Witness is hosted by Scott Atnet, engineered and produced by David Fasalo. Our executive producer is B. Moorhead. The opinions expressed on Weekly Witness are those of Texas Impact and our guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views of our sponsors. Weekly Witness is a product of Texas Impact, people of faith working for justice. Visit us online at texasimpact.org.